The most powerful voice in your life isn't your husband or your wife or your kids or your friends or your family. It's the one that's in your head. And if that voice is always super critical, that's the reason why you can feel stuck. But here's the truth. That critic, it isn't you. And once you learn how to silence it, you can finally start to live empowered. So, welcome to the Reclamation. I'm Ricky if you're new here. Thanks for joining. So, the big problem is we all have this defined inner critic that we deal with. It's a constant negative voice that just keeps saying, you're not enough. Different examples could be, you'll never be successful. You'll always mess things up. Why even try? There's no sense in me even going for it. The science behind that we're looking at, it's called negativity bias. And the brain is wired to focus on threats and failures. And it's where your amygdala is set up on survival instinct. So the cost of that, with the inner critic, means you're going to miss out. You're going to have a stuck life, missed opportunities, and low confidence. So there's definitely things that, are possible that can be seen through it. You can paint a picture of, imagine waking up without having that voice running the show. Imagine making decisions and without even second guessing yourself, feeling confident in your path, actually trusting yourself from start to finish. Something that I dealt with, when I was going through addiction, and I came out of it, I still felt like, I wasn't worth or any good at whatever I was trying to do. The inner critic was just deafening at points in time. That I wasn't talented anymore. I second guessed any opportunities when it came to looking for a new job. As a dad, I was scared to make decisions, thinking if they were the right or wrong choices to go. And once I stepped back and had the opportunity through some counseling, that's when I realized that the inner critic in me is actually what's holding me back. So the critic in you can come from all different things, whether it's your environment. It's a learned voice. So it can come from situations, it can come from parents, teachers, society. There's all different avenues that it comes through. And then what happens is your brain recorded those voices and plays it back as if they're yours, but they truly, really aren't. So the first step that you go through with something like this is just becoming aware of it. If you don't identify what's going on, you can't silence it. So, the thing that I went through, and it's something that's helpful, is, write down the most critical phrases, the most common critical phrases that you hear yourself say. Like if you're not strong enough or you're not talented enough, write that stuff out. And then the next step, you go ahead and just reframe it. You take the critic and you go into like a coach mode with a reframe. So an example, if I were to say, Rick, you'll fail, I can change that up and say, this matters, I'm going to prepare well. And that just automatically flips it. So cognitive behavioral therapy, backs this style of reframe where you're changing the thought and it's going to change the behavior. Then last, that's where you start to find the empowerment. And that shift starts to come in. The inner critic, even though it feels like the truth, it's only conditioning. And once we identify that, it's definitely game on. So I hope this helps somebody out there somewhere. I appreciate all the love you guys are showing, the continued support. It's been great. I'm loving this. I think we're 13, 14 episodes in now. And it's neat to hear how people have actually used some of these tools and identify different things that you can change. So if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to hear more about, or if you'd like me to expand on some stuff, hit me up, DM, put it in the comments. If you can, like a call to action would be, down in the comments, what's the number one thing that your inner critic says to you? Like, what is always coming out that you can reframe? So with that, love strong, do hard things, embrace your gifts. I love you guys. Let me know if you need anything, and have a great week.